So today I'm going to be testing and comparing a bunch of thermal cameras, and some of you may be aware of this brand already, FLIR or FLIR. I tend to pronounce things incorrectly apparently, but there we have it. It's a dual camera system, so you've got a normal camera and the thermal camera down at the base. And I've got a couple here from Thermal Master. So this is their P2 Pro and their P3. As you can see, the P2 Pro is absolutely tiny. The P3, however, has this manual focusing wheel. This focus wheel, coupled with the higher resolution and lower net D value of 35, really makes a huge difference in terms of performance. But yeah, let's put all these cameras side by side and see how they compare. Okay, so here are the three thermal cameras that we're going to be comparing. And the first thing I want to talk about is design and portability. So coming up first is the FLIR One Pro. And as you can see here, it's reasonably slim. Okay, it's rugged, feels really durable for what it is, easy to use. It's got this kind of anodizing here on the back, these rubber bumpers as well, but it does add a little bit more bulk to your phone. And yeah, I do find that these rubber bumpers are absent on some of the Thermal Master P series. So yeah, I think that's a good little design here, even with that USB-C, the USB-C jack, this design that allows you to kind of increase this little lip here at the back so that it accommodates for thicker cases. And the FLIR One Pro runs off an inbuilt lithium polymer battery. It's non-replaceable and you do need to charge it separately through this USB-C port at the bottom. It's got a charging indicator light there. And the camera will not work unless it's holding a charge. Okay, and it will last you about an hour fully charged and takes about 40 minutes to charge. The P2 Pro here is ultra compact. It is marketed really as the smallest thermal camera, and I can't find anything else that's smaller than this. Lighter than most car keys. It's absolutely tiny, and it can probably fit on a keychain. But yeah, this thing runs off phone battery power, so you just plug that into the USB-C jack of your phone. And it consumes very little power, so 0.5 watts. I actually measured that with an external device and confirmed it. So based on an average phone battery, you'll probably get about 5 to 7 hours of battery life. It's made of aluminium, macro lens, magnetic macro lens component here on top. And this is the brand new Thermal Master P3. And I would say it's a little bit smaller than the FLIR One Pro. Okay, even if you look at it sideways, it is thinner, a little smaller. Okay, not hugely though. It's still going to take up a little bit of bulk on your phone, but you've got this manual focus lens. It does jut out a teeny bit, but again, quite portable. And this also runs off phone battery through your USB-C jack, similar power specifications to the P2 Pro, so 0.5 watts, so it does consume very little power and will last you 5 to 7 hours battery life based on an average phone cell, so 3,000 to 5,000 milliamp hour cell. So in terms of portability, I'm really going to call this one a draw here. All of these are small and portable. The P2 Pro is technically the easiest to carry around due to its size, but you'll need to find a case/container for it, as it doesn't actually come with one. So you're probably going to end up having to carry around a larger case anyway, which isn't going to make a big difference. I wouldn't carry this around by itself. It's just way too fragile. In terms of design, I really wish that the Thermal Master P series had some of these rubber bumpers that you find here on the FLIR One Pro. Okay, it's not a deal breaker, but yeah, the P series also runs off your phone battery, so I can see that being more reliable in cases where you forget to charge the FLIR. And also, once that battery conks out, you're probably not going to be able to use this camera anymore because it needs to hold a charge to actually work. So in terms of image clarity and thermal performance, the P3 delivers the sharpest imagery thanks to its manual focus paired with a higher resolution sensor, so the 256 by 192 sensor. And you can also use that digital upscaling mode. I'll show you a bit later in the UI demonstration. So you can upscale it to 512 by 384. It's also a smooth 25 Hertz. The P2 Pro can also produce sharp macro images with this detachable macro lens, and also acceptable medium range images with its 256 by 192 thermal sensor. It's also 25 Hertz, so pretty smooth. And the FLIR, it's got a resolution of 160 by 120, so it does lag behind the other two, but it does also compensate with the MSX overlay for visible edges, so you can make out some distant objects with that tracing. It also has an 8.7 Hertz rating, so really it's not going to be that smooth compared to the other two, and you'll see later on in the demonstration what I mean. So in terms of thermal sensitivity, the P2 Pro and the P3 have a less than 40 millikelvin net D, so this allows them to spot more subtle temperature changes. In fact, the upgraded P3 has less than 35 millikelvin, which is really amazing for a small pocketable thermal camera like this. Most of them are at least rated about 40 to 50 millikelvin, and the FLIR One Pro has a 70 millikelvin sensitivity, so you're going to be okay for closer up work, things like HVAC, maybe looking into a smaller room, insulation tasks, but it's not going to be really suited to precision diagnostics. So basically, with the higher net D value, the camera is less sensitive to small temperature differences and will produce an image with less detail. In terms of temperature range, the P3 and the P2 Pro have a larger range of temperatures that they can measure, so from -20 up to 600 degrees Celsius, whereas the FLIR One Pro measures from -20 to 400 degrees Celsius. So the winner out of all of these, I have to say, would be the ThermalMaster P3. It's got the best resolution, best accuracy, and most flexibility with the manual focus. It even beats out the ThermalMaster P2 with the macro lens. You can only get up to maybe 3 or 4 centimeters with the ThermalMaster P2 Pro, but you can get up to 0.8 centimeters with this amazing manual focus lens. Okay, so let's compare the software and the interface for both the FLIR and ThermalMaster systems. I've got the ThermalMaster P3 to the left, and on the right, I've got the FLIR One Pro. So we can talk about the FLIR One Pro first, and you can see here, you've got all these kind of flashy things coming up on the screen. So the hottest part there is detected. It's this red part there, so 30 something degrees Celsius, and all around you've got the coldest part, which is sort of flashing up and changing constantly. So yeah, it just measures the hottest and the coldest point. There is this thing here as well where you can add some additional spots. Okay, I've already enabled the hot and the cold spot, but you can add an additional spot if you want to measure something here or here. There's also this kind of temperature, minimum and maximum temperature range that it is detecting on the screen. And up on the corner here, there is this calibration mode. So sometimes, basically, when you switch scenes, maybe go from a colder scene or hotter scene, the camera needs to recalibrate again. It does this automatically, but yeah, you can also press that button. It's a pretty simple sort of interface. At the bottom here, you can play around with a few settings. At the moment, I've got the infrared only on. So if I hit MSX like that, okay, here we have a little bit of this tracing effect, okay? And most of the time it lines up, but you do have to go into the settings and align it. And this is just activating the camera mode only, so DC. So normally I just use the IR mode on its own. And you can also change the color palette here. So there's a bunch of different color palettes that you can figure out, hottest or coldest points in the scene. I think iron is the most balanced out of all of these. And there's also this quality mode here at the bottom, so you can select like a lower quality mode. So maybe your phone's not able to keep up. I'm not sure why you'd select that. I'll just select the high quality mode because there's just more noise in the background. You can also change the temperature range of things that you are measuring. So for most purposes, -20 to 120 degrees Celsius will be good and provide the best resolution. You've also got the ability here to take a photo and a video. It saves it into your gallery. Okay, and if you go into the settings up the top, you can also select a few different bits and pieces. So temperature range, we went through that before. You can select and change the temperature units and time, that kind of thing. But here you've got emissivity, so you can select from matte, semi-matte, semi-glossy, and glossy. Now, something that was a little bit annoying is that you can't put in a custom range in there. You might have to set it to 0.98 or 0.2. You're not able to actually do that in here, nor are you able to actually put in the parameters of how far the object is and the ambient room temperature as well, which also influences accurate temperature readings. So that is pretty much it for the interface of the FLIR One Pro. So here we have the ThermalMaster app with the ThermalMaster P3 connected. And yeah, basically you can see here, you can just manually spin that lens until it is really focused. And yeah, you can already see the difference in resolution. And you can see here it's picking up, it's doing the same thing. So the red dot that's, you know, moving around, that's the highest temperature reading on screen. And you've got the lowest temperature reading, which is 21 degrees Celsius in the background as well. And there's a third point here, which is just the center point. So whatever you place that point onto, it will measure the temperature. So you can add on points as well, which is quite similar to the FLIR One Pro. But not only that, you can add lines. So you can measure temperature along these various lines. For some reason, the points max out at 3. Okay, you can even add a rectangle, different kinds of rectangles, rectangle 4, rectangle, yeah, so 3 rectangles. So I guess it's 3 lines. Yeah, 3 lines, 3 rectangles, 3 of each. So, I mean, that's still pretty good. You've got circles. I guess that's just so that you're not unnecessarily measuring everything here on the screen. And you can basically turn the temperature off and on. So if you want it to actually display those temperature readings. And color, I don't really use that at all. Okay, here are a few other color palettes, so pseudo color palettes that you can choose from. So you've got black hot, white hot, iron red, red hot, rainbow, jungle. I only really use the first 3. I don't find the others very useful personally. And there's also a picture-in-picture mode here, so you can enable the other camera so you can actually see what you're looking at. Flip the screen like that as well. Doesn't exactly line up. Here in the settings, there are a few other options. So you can rotate the screen if you want. So you can mirror the image. I don't use the scale thing, but you can play around with the contrast here as well. So to get a sharper image, you can also play around with the brightness. I tend to leave this, you know, on about 50%, but you can make it really low, like 15% as well, and still detect what's happening. Okay, this center button here allows you to also take photos and record. And you've got the shutter button here on top. Now here's the interesting thing, there's this X3 button up the top. So if I just hit that, it basically performs this kind of edge detection here. Okay, and sharpens up the image. Now it's lagging a lot on this phone because, yeah, this is a pretty old phone, but using it on my Samsung Galaxy S23, it's definitely a lot faster. Personally, I prefer just to use the camera as is. Okay, I don't like to apply any of those additional filters and edge detection bits and pieces over the top. I find it just doesn't help for what I use it for. And if we go back, there are also some settings in here. So if you go other settings, temperature settings, so this is what I'm talking about. You go to variable correction. You can set ambient room temperature, the measurement distance from the object that you're measuring, and emissivity here. So you can actually add in a custom emissivity level. It does give you some options to choose from already, but I mean, this already looks a lot more precise. and you should be able to get a more accurate reading. There's also this temperature alarm, so you can set when when the phone alerts you or the camera alerts you when a certain high temperature comes up, maybe 100 degrees Celsius, or same thing with low. You select here. It's another cool feature. Burn protection basically will disable the camera or warn you whenever you are pointing the camera towards an object that's too hot. So maybe you're looking at someone welding something. You shouldn't be pointing a thermal camera at that. It's gonna damage it. So yeah, I think that's a good little safety mechanism. But you can see already there's quite a few more features, more customization, and yeah, ability to measure along different points, lines, a specific area of the screen, which you don't get with the FLIR application. So overall, in terms of the software and interface, I'm really going to have to hand it to the P3 just for advanced diagnostics, flexibility, being able to measure many different points. You've got that X3 mode for upscaling. The only thing that I think the FLIR One Pro does better is with this edge detection. As you can see here, sort of tracing around the edges. That might be useful for some of you. Personally, I don't find it that useful myself. So overall, I think out of all of these thermal cameras, the ThermalMaster P3 is the clear winner. You get 6 times the battery life of the FLIR One Pro, better resolution, picture quality, better sensitivity, and of course the ability to focus on near and far away objects with this adjustable lens. You do get more customizable features in the app as well. It's not as expensive. And yeah, I just think it's a shame because I really like the more rugged design and attention to detail of the build of the FLIR One Pro. But in terms of technical specifications and what it's supposed to do as a thermal camera, it just lags behind both the P2 Pro and the P3. And yeah, the battery life, again, lasts only for 1 hour. So you're going to really need to have this thing charged up constantly because, yeah, if it drops to 0, it's not going to be usable. But yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments below out of these 3 cameras. Also check the links in the video description below. I have a special discount available for any of these thermal cameras. And yeah, if you've got questions, that kind of thing, just leave them below in the comments and I'll get back to you. If you enjoyed the video, found it helpful, click the like button and share it with a friend who may be interested. Just helps me to get my channel out to more people. So let's go to a side-by-side comparison and demonstration of these 3 thermal cameras. Okay, so to the left, I've got the P3. In the middle, I've got the P2 Pro. And to the right, I've got the FLIR One Pro. So I've basically got these 3 cameras maybe about 15 to 30 centimeters away from this little circuit board here on the table. And you can see already with the P2 and P3, the overall smoothness of the video is much better due to that 25 Hertz. Okay, and the FLIR, as you can see here, has this kind of overlay on the top, and you can disable that. So I can just set it to infrared only, like this, and we can compare them. Now, the interesting thing is with the P3, I can focus it nice and sharp like this. So you really get a super sharp and clear photo image. And you can even get very close. And let's bring up the P2 Pro. And you can see with the P2 Pro, I mean, this thing is amazing. The amount of detail that you get on that circuit board. But this is only one set focal lens, so focal length with this macro lens. So when I move it backwards, I'm not able to basically focus that photo again. So this is about as close as you can get. It's about maybe a few centimeters away from the board itself. You can pop on the X3 mode, which sharpens it up a little bit, upscales. Now this is the P3, and if we bring it up really close, and I can actually just manually focus using that focusing ring, and you can get even closer than the P2 Pro. I mean, look at that. That little resistor there is, or whatever it is, it's absolutely tiny. It's only like a millimeter wide, and you can get close to all these little circuit board details as well. You can even see the writing there. Whereas with the P2 Pro, as you can see, when you try to bring it up really close, it becomes blurry, so you kind of got to pull it back to about there. So it's pretty amazing. You do get that extra magnification on the P3, extra detail up close and personal. So if you're looking at things like LEDs, inspecting bond wires and die surfaces, you can be sure that you can get a much closer look at what's happening. Let's look at the P2 Pro again. Still pretty good, but yeah, like I said, it's just a fixed focal length with this macro lens. Now let's check out the FLIR One Pro. So as you can see here, you know, you get some decent enough detail, but it's very difficult to read any of the lettering and stuff on the circuit board, and especially with those smaller components, you just don't get the clarity that you get on the P3 and the P2 Pro. So yeah, unless you want to have, you know, just a quick little check over, that kind of thing, I would recommend, I guess, for these sort of macro tasks, the P2 Pro and the P3. You can still measure stuff, but it's, if you're looking at very small components, it's gonna be difficult. When we move things back, get a clearer sort of image, and I can take off the macro lens for the P2 Pro now, and you can see even then it's still pretty sharp. And with the P3, all I have to do is start to focus the lens, and I can get a nice sharp image as well. Okay, and that's the FLIR One Pro to the right. So they all seem to do okay about 30 centimeters away. But again, the extra resolution and the higher frame rate of the P2 Pro and the P3 are making a big difference here. Alright, so here is my computer, and I've got all three cameras, kind of mid-range. Look up at the walls and stuff like that here. That's a little lamp that I have to the right. And you can see the clarity of it is definitely significantly higher. Better clarity in the P2 and P2 Pro, and there's better distinguishing of background and foreground, just the slight temperature differences due to the lower net D value. You can see the curtain and the wall there are still showing up as hot on the FLIR One Pro, but on the P2 and P2 Pro it's showing up as colder, as it should, because those are facing bits of glass outdoors, so it should be colder. And let's have a look. This is a flashlight that I left on my desk here, and I have basically just left it for a little while to kind of warm up. So it's just showing up hotter than the ambient temperature of the room. The temperature readings look you know, very similar to each other. See, 25 degrees Celsius. The P3 is measuring 23, and I think I've got a different emissivity value set in there, but it's good to see that they are kind of approximating each other. Little power plug on the ground. The P3 does have like a little bit of extra zoom, optical zoom, and sensitivity. The net D is a little bit lower, 35 millikelvin. Whereas the FLIR, you can see here, it's really starting to struggle sometimes when you have smaller temperature variations. Okay, so here's my fridge, and the wall next to my fridge, so you should get a bit of heat there. Get closer. And the coils on the side of my fridge. For medium distance, all of these cameras are doing pretty well, but with the added resolution and the smoothness, it just makes the P2 Pro and the P3 a lot easier to use, and yeah, you get some extra detail. Just comparing the kind of coil images, they're pretty similar at this range. But yeah, you can see, of course, the resolution is a factor here. Let's go into my bathroom, and this is me just holding the camera up to the mirror. So again, looking like there's a bit more detail on the P3, the P2 Pro. The temperature measurements, though, for all three cameras look quite similar. And again, here are some plugs and electronics and stuff that I've got on the ground, just to show you a comparison between all three. It's kind of short to medium range. I think overall the P3 just wins with its versatility. I mean, it just produces a sharper, more detailed image at all distances, really, from 1 centimeter up to however far I step back. I can just continue to focus it, whereas the other two, you're kind of stuck with whatever, you know, with whatever the focal length of those cameras are. But if I had to choose between the P2 Pro and the FLIR One Pro, I'd definitely choose the P2 Pro. I mean, you can see for yourself just at this distance, much more detail, smoothness, and yeah, overall image clarity. All right, so on the left I've got the P3 and the middle P2 Pro, and on the right I have the FLIR One Pro, and you can already see the difference in resolution. But the interesting thing about the FLIR One Pro is that it has the ability to sort of outline a lot of the details in here. It's almost helps to just like compensate for the lower resolution. Now if I actually go in and change it to the IR mode only, you'll see the difference here is pretty stark. For one, pretty much you can only get less kind of contrast, so you get probably, yeah, everything kind of blends in a little bit more together compared to the P3 and the P2 Pro. As you can see, it's like a larger tonal range. That's due to the high millikelvin, 70 millikelvin
rating. You know, the P2 Pro is pretty, you know, it's pretty good. It's got a net D of 40 millikelvin, but the P3 has a slightly lower millikelvin of 35. So I think the picture quality is definitely the best in this kind of mid-range shot, mid to long range shot with the P3. And if you're up really close, you can see there's definitely a lot more detail and things like that. But yeah. There's some cars moving towards. It's also a bit of lag. It's only about 8 Hertz, I believe. The FLIR One Pro compared to the 25 Hertz that you get with the Thermalmaster P3 and the P2 Pro. Closer range, it does fairly well. Okay, going for a little walk now with all three, and you can see there's a little possum up ahead, and there's some people walking around in the park, which are much more obvious to pick up with the P3 and the P2 Pro. Let's have a look at this possum. Further up ahead, I think it's a possum anyway, or someone's dog. What is that? Maybe it's not even a dog. A possum. It's like something... I'm not sure what that is. Oh, it's a cat. Yeah, someone's... Oh no, it's not. It's it's definitely a possum. They do really look like cats. So, yeah, you can really make out the details, as you can see with the P3, and I can focus to really get sharper up close. Overall resolution is and detail is better again on the P3, P2 Pro, but you know, the FLIR is good for general detection. So up ahead here, you can see on the ground there are some little heat signatures, and these are actually little birds that are moving around, and they're much more obvious, as you can tell, on the P3. Okay, and P2 next, and the FLIR is just able to kind of make out a bit of movement there. But we'll go a bit closer and let's see if we can pick out some details. These seagulls. You can already see there's like a person walking in the distance somewhere. They've flown off, but there's that person there in the distance. You can make out. That's my scooter. And here are some mice up ahead scurrying into the bushes. You can just make one out there. There's a couple here, smaller kind of targets. So